Hi, my name is Caitlin Klockner, and I'm doing a close reading video on Lincoln's letter to Lorenzo Thomas. The beginning of the Civil War was complete chaos for the Union. It had to create its largest standing army in history. Also, 26% of U.S. West Point graduates from the years 1833 to 1861 had joined the Confederacy. Most notably was Robert E. Lee, who had been well known and was even Winfield Scott's protege. It had always been thought that Lee's decision to join the Confederacy was inevitable, because in his resignation letter he said he could not raise his hand against his birthplace, his home, his children. However, it has been recently found through letters by his daughter, Mary Curtis Lee, that his decision was much more personal, and he went back and forth on joining the Confederacy the days before his decision. Lincoln knew that he had to address the issue of officers joining the Confederacy in the first few months of the war, especially ones that looked like they were eventually going to join. He knew he needed as many West Point graduates as possible in order to most effectively win the war, so the issue had to be addressed pretty quickly. We get to see what Lincoln thought of this issue to a letter he wrote to Lorenzo Thomas, a 1923 West Point graduate. Thomas also served in the Seminole and Mexican War and had been Winfield Scott's chief of staff before the Civil War started. He was now an adjutant general for the Union. Lincoln wrote Thomas in November 1961 in response to a situation about Captain Chapin Gurdon. Gurdon had been dismissed since August of that year for a letter he had written his father promising to resign and join the South. Gurdon was a West Point graduate of 1851. And he had been recently promoted to captain in April of 1861. He believed he should have been reinstated because he had not resigned when he had said he would and had decided ultimately not to resign. Lincoln believed Gurdon should be forgiven because he knew educated military talent was needed. Also, he did not want educated military men to join the Confederacy, and people who protested their loyalty and refused to join the enemy ultimately, Lincoln believed should be trusted. However, Lincoln ultimately left the decision up to Thomas if Gurdon should be reinstated or not. Thomas did reinstate Gurdon ultimately, and Gurdon was even promoted to a major later in the war. Lincoln knew trained military men would be needed to win the war. The Union had already lost at Bull Run earlier in the year, and Lincoln knew this war was going to be very long and bloody. He wrote Simon Cameron, his Secretary of War, 5 days before writing Thomas, saying that officers should be forgiven on the suspicion of disloyalty if they ultimately had chosen to stay in the Union. Many Republicans of the time believed in something called the citizen soldier, who was someone who courage and valor would take the place of training and would fight with unending force to victory. Most Republicans didn't trust military officers at the time because so many joined the Confederates. But Lincoln did, and he believed that if he trusted them, they would help him win this war.